Hi guys, today we will discuss Essay 315 Identifying and Assessing Risk of Material Misstatement. Today's discussion centered around identification and assessing of the risk. How we can identify, how auditor will assess the risks. First, we have to understand a concept of inherent risk. Second, we have to understand the control risks. What is inherent risk? Before proceeding further into the concept of inherent risk, we have to understand a famous concept of economic activities, a behavior. Profit is the reward for taking the risk in the business. In this way, we comes to know that every business has risks attached to that. If we want to do that business, we have to assume that risk. We cannot avoid those risks attached to the business. Number two, the environment in which it operates. For an example, the highly competitive environment in which a business operates, it means the higher risk. How the risk is increased in a competitive environment? We have the great competitors, they will reduce prices, but the input cost will not go lower. Input cost year after year after year after go high level. Another example of the environment is the economy. Economy have a lot of phases, boom, recession, whatever. Nowadays, the pandemic of corona, what will happen for the economy? It is downsized. People does not have the purchasing power. They will postpone their needs. So this is an example of environment I am telling about. So the first component is the inherent risk. Entity related risk, that means the business related risks, and the risk arising from the environment. Let us move to the concept. I want to assess inherent risk, that means attached risk related to the business. How can I assess those risks? Where I have to go? Refer memorandum of association. Where we will get the industry type. What type of industry? Is it airline industry, telecom industry, service industry? Who are our regulators? Who are our major competitors? Number two, the class of industry. We want to know the specific to our industry. What is my industry? For an example, airline industry. Way of its operations, whether it is only in India or globally it has presence. I have to understand that. The way it is financed. Why financial structure is relevant? Why should I understand the financial structure? Hope we have learned the operational leverage and financial leverage. Both operational leverage and financial leverage is high. What will happen? It is high risk to the organization. It will be end up soon. The way entity is managed and governed. For an example, Satya Ramalinga Raju is the one person who has managed the business. What happened that business? The business is wind up because of the mismanagement. One of the example I am telling you, the Jet Airways, Naresh Goyal, who is the person managing the business. If the management gone wrong, business has risks. Let us proceed further into the example of Jet Airways. Its capital structure, 51% was held by SBI and the collaboration banks. Many banks together on a collaboration basis lended the money to Jet Airways. 24% held by Naresh Goyal, 12% held by Etihad Airways, and 13%, 13% held by the general public. Most of the funds were lended funds, loan funds. We know if we buying the fund, borrowing the fund through the loan mechanism, we have to pay interest. We are purchasing the asset. What will happen? We have to pay the higher interest. Our asset does not generate that much income. It is not at the highest leverage. Then the competition was high. Competitors like SpiceJet and Indigos were the major competitors. Input price, selling price is low because of the competition. Other costs are high. Slowly, SpiceJet Airways went for a steep financial crisis. 18,000 people were lost the job. I am given this example for understanding the entity, the environment in which it operates. Hope you understand the inherent risk, attached risk. Let us move ahead with the control risk. Internal control risk. A control which is established by the management for preventing fraud and error. Smoothness of the business. We know business has the risk. So higher the business risk, how should be our control? Is it high control, good control, or lower control? If the risk of the business is high, my control should be stringent, isn't it? This control is established for safeguarding asset, reliability in preparation of financial statements. Taking one example, I went an organization where the employees are demotivated. They are not adequately paid. If they're getting an opportunity to commit the fraud, they will surely commit it. Why? Because management does not adequately reward their effort. An organization with good caring to the employees, they cultivate an environment of honesty. Pay them adequately. Ethical environment will be better. It's management responsibility, isn't it? We have to give employees only the workloads. Salary is not paid them in times. Incentives is not paid in times. Employees will be demotivated. There is a tendency to commit more frauds among the employees by colluding mechanisms. They will steal the assets. It's their responsibility to create such a good environment with honesty and ethical environment. Let us move further. It is the internal control aspects. Nowadays, all systems are processed to information technology, IT technology. Auditors should have a fair idea about the information system, what software they are used. If I don't know that, I have to learn. What should I learn in this regard? How a system, how a transaction is processed, how it is recorded, how it is processed, how it is documented, who authorized those transactions, what control mechanism that transaction have. I must have a fair idea. Otherwise, what will happen? Fraud can simply committed through manipulation in IT systems. Should I only check the transaction, accounting transaction? No. I have to check the other elements also. How the other elements also taken care by the IT system. So it's also an internal control mechanisms. If an organization is weaker in the authorization process, complicated transactions can simply contain frauds. So an auditor should have a fair idea. So taken all these components together is a product of risk of material misstatement. So we have identified, we have assessed it. One more question I have. Apart from this, what are the other mechanisms to understand the entity and its environment? What other mechanism I could do? If I want more idea about the entity, nothing. Discuss with management. Inquiries with the management. If management is not aware about the business, seek questions and answers with the knowledgeable persons within the organization. If that is also not sufficient, observe within the premises of the management, premises of the business. Inspect the record, questions, ask questions to the employee how this organization is going on. They will tell it's good, it's bad, like that. And if it is also not sufficient, do some analytical procedure. Why? Because you are a chartered accountant, isn't it? This is also one more sources to understand about the business. Do test of controls. Do test of controls to understand the effectiveness of internal control, whether it is functioning well or not. And the final segments, after identifying my ROMMS, that means how much my inherent risk, whether it is high, what is my control risk, whether it is high, if both combined together, it will result in high ROMMS. On an opposite direction, my inherent risk, attached business risk, is low because it's a low profit organization. My internal control is very good, so the control risk is very low. So if I combine that together, will result in lowest ROMMS. In a situation of highest ROMMS, my controls will be stringent, my checking will be so detailed. Why? Because there is a chances of committing frauds. In low ROMMS situations, my fraud risk is very low. My checkings will be not that much stringent. And the final segment we are going to discuss now is the risks that require special attention by the auditor. Whether the risk is arise out of fraud, employee frauds or management frauds, is that kind of risk? Whether the risk is arised, why? Because significant transactions with the related party. We know related party can manipulate things. Then another risk, accounting estimate. It's an estimate, nothing is precise, it's an estimate. We can do manipulations in accounting estimates, thereby inflating the profit. Complexity of transactions. By the naked eye, I don't know what kind of transaction it is. It's very high-end transactions require the help of experts. In that cases also, element of frauds will be there because I don't know that. Then whether the risk is arising due to the significant changes in economic and other environmental factors. I told about the competitions and the net airways examples. So this is my smallest discussions of SA 315. Thank you for watching the video and have a nice day ahead.